There's a quiet, invisible line inside every person, the line that separates who you truly are from what the world tries to make you. Most of us cross it and don't even know we're doing it. They bend, they shrink, they pack themselves in order to be accepted, liked, or approved of. It starts small. You let someone cut you off and laugh about it. You co-sign something you don't agree with, just so you don't rock the boat. You tell them it's okay when it's not okay because you don't want to be a bother. Over time, this habit becomes a way of living, and before you know it, you're not living for yourself anymore. You're living for everyone else's comfort. The Stoics warned about this long before our time. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. On one hand, we claim to value ourselves. On the other, we hand over our self-respect in exchange for the smallest crumbs of approval." Think about it. How many times have you walked away from a conversation replaying what you should have said? How many times have you felt the sting of being disrespected, but swallowed your words because you didn't want to be that person? This is where the problem begins. When you lower yourself, when you pretend you're smaller, weaker, or less capable than you are, you teach the world how to treat you. And the truth is, the world rarely treats you better than you demand. The Stoic path is not about arrogance. It's not about becoming cold or untouchable. It's about becoming rooted in who you are, so deeply that no one can pull you down without your permission. Being important in life doesn't mean being famous or rich. It means living in such a way that you matter to yourself first. It means having an inner code that you will not break. Not for love, not for money, not for belonging. And here's the hard truth. The moment you start lowering yourself for others, you stop respecting yourself. And when you stop respecting yourself, you invite others to do the same. The Stoics understood this as a matter of virtue. Epictetus taught that you should never trade your integrity for anything that doesn't truly matter. If something costs you your self-respect, it's too expensive, no matter what it promises in return. So, in this video, we're going to explore 5 Stoic lessons that will help you never lower yourself again. These aren't vague, motivational phrases. They're practical, clear, and deeply human truths that you can use in your own life starting now. You'll learn how to hold your ground without being aggressive, how to value your own voice without needing constant validation, and how to become a person who commands quiet respect. The beauty of Stoicism is that it doesn't just tell you what to do, it teaches you why it matters. Because when you understand the philosophy, you realize this isn't about winning in social situations. It's about protecting the most important relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. I want you to imagine just for a moment a version of yourself who never needs to explain their worth. Someone who doesn't shrink when challenged, someone who can be silent when needed, speak when necessary, and walk away when respect is no longer on the table. That version of you is not a fantasy. It's a skill you can build, but only if you stop lowering yourself and start living according to a code that no one else can rewrite. By the end of this video, you'll have 5 clear lessons from Stoicism that can anchor you in strength, dignity, and inner importance. These lessons aren't about impressing others, they're about commanding respect by never betraying yourself. And remember, the respect you give yourself sets the price the world has to pay to deal with you. So before we begin, I want you to commit to something, not to me, but to yourself. Commit that from this day forward, you will no longer make yourself small for people who would never grow for you. If you're ready, stay with me until the very end. Don't skip a single part, because each lesson builds on the one before it. And if this message already feels like something you needed to hear, then like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who's been giving away their self-respect, and subscribe to the channel so we can walk this path together. If you're with me, leave a comment saying, "I am claiming my worth today." Number 1. Stop explaining yourself to everyone. One of the quickest ways people lower themselves without even realizing it is by over-explaining their actions, their decisions, and even their dreams. It might sound polite, or like you're just trying to be understood, but here's the truth. When you constantly justify yourself, you're giving away your power. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that, if you wish to be a writer, write. He didn't say, if you wish to be a writer, explain to everyone why you're writing so they approve of you. The Stoics understood that our actions should speak for themselves. The more you explain yourself, the more you invite people to poke holes in your reasoning, to challenge your motives, and to plant seeds of doubt in your mind. Over-explaining is often rooted in insecurity, the subtle belief that your choices aren't valid until someone else agrees with them. It's lowering yourself to the point where you're seeking permission to be who you are. But when you do this, you're handing over your authority. You're telling the world, I don't fully trust my own judgment unless you validate it. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Not everyone will agree with your decisions. Not everyone will understand them. And that's okay. You don't owe your life to their understanding. If someone doesn't like what you're doing, that's their emotional work to process, not yours to fix. Think about how much time and energy you waste trying to justify your path to people who aren't even walking it with you. You explain why you left a job, why you ended a relationship, why you're changing your lifestyle, why you're pursuing something new. And yet, half the time, the people you're explaining yourself to wouldn't even be there if you fell. Stoicism teaches that peace comes from focusing on what's within your control, and other people's opinions are not within your control. Every moment you spend trying to make someone understand you is a moment you've taken away from actually living your truth. When you stop over-explaining, you're making a statement. I trust myself enough to move forward without your approval. That's a powerful form of self-respect, and it doesn't require arrogance, just clarity. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to push people away. But you do have to realize that your life is not a courtroom where every decision needs to be defended in front of a jury. Look at the people who carry themselves with quiet confidence. They don't flood you with reasons for why they're doing what they're doing. They simply act. And because they act without explaining, people naturally take them more seriously. It's important to understand that over-explaining isn't just about talking, it's about lowering your position. Imagine you're in a meeting and you present an idea. If you immediately follow it up with a dozen justifications, it communicates that you're unsure. But if you present it simply and leave it at that, you project certainty. Here's where Stoicism makes it simple. Know your values. Make your choices based on those values. Let your actions speak louder than your explanations. When you're grounded in what matters to you, you don't feel the need to broadcast a defense for every choice. People might still judge, but their judgment will bounce off a stronger version of you. The next time you feel that urge to explain yourself to someone who doesn't need an explanation, stop. Ask yourself, is this person's understanding necessary for me to move forward? If the answer is no, then your silence will be more powerful than any explanation you could give. Seneca once said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. Notice that he didn't say, associate with people who always understand you. Not everyone will get you, and they don't have to. What matters is that you get you. The person who constantly needs to explain themselves is a person who has handed over their sense of worth to others. The person who simply acts with conviction is someone who is already important. Not because people say so, but because they've stopped living for outside approval. If you want to never lower yourself again, start here. Cut down your explanations. Speak when it's necessary. Stand by your decisions without needing an audience to cheer you on. Your life will instantly feel lighter, and your presence will feel stronger. Remember, important people don't talk about being important. They live in a way that makes it undeniable. Now take a moment and type this below if you're ready to trust yourself more. I no longer explain my worth. Number 2. Never compete for someone's attention. One of the most damaging ways we lower ourselves is by chasing after people who don't value our presence. This could be in friendships, relationships, or even professional spaces. We find ourselves working overtime, not for our goals, but just to get noticed, just to be chosen, just to feel like we matter to someone. The painful truth. When you compete for someone's attention, you are silently telling them that their approval is worth more than your dignity, and once you set that tone, they will believe it. The Stoics had a sharp perspective on this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts are constantly wrapped around, how can I get them to notice me? How can I prove my value to them? Your actions will reflect desperation, and desperation is the fastest way to be seen as less valuable." Here's the thing, genuine respect and connection cannot be forced. If someone sees your worth, they will act accordingly without you having to jump through hoops. If they don't, your effort will never be enough, because they're not looking at you through the lens of your true value. When you chase attention, you're placing yourself in a mental auction where your worth is up for bidding. You're giving someone else the power to decide if you win or lose, and that's dangerous. The Stoics would say that you are allowing what is outside your control to dictate your inner peace. And here's the trap. Sometimes you do get their attention for a moment. They might suddenly respond, show interest, or give you praise, but it's temporary, because the foundation isn't respect, it's your constant effort. The moment you stop trying, the connection fades, and you're back to chasing again. This cycle is exhausting. It also teaches you to measure yourself by how much attention you're receiving instead of the value you bring as a person. The Stoic approach? Remove yourself from the competition altogether. Don't even enter the race. If someone is making you feel like you have to fight for their time or acknowledgement, it's a clear sign they don't see you as important as you truly are. Think about the most respected people you know. They don't sit around wondering how to make others notice them. They are focused on their mission, their principles, their growth, and because of that, people naturally gravitate toward them. Attention comes as a side effect of living with purpose, not as the goal. Instead of asking, "How can I get their attention?" start asking, "Do I even want the attention of someone who doesn't value me without me asking for it?" When you look at it this way, the answer becomes clearer. Epictetus taught, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, be willing to let people misunderstand your worth while you quietly build it. The right people will see it without you having to advertise it. This doesn't mean you become cold or distant. It means you stop performing for people's interest. You can still engage, you can still care, but you stop attaching your self-worth to whether they pay attention to you or not. And here's something important. People can sense when you're trying to win them over. Even if you hide it behind jokes, favors, or over-involvement, the energy is still there. And energy communicates more than words ever could. When you stop competing for attention, something incredible happens. You stop giving away your power. You shift from "please see me" to "I know who I am, and I'm not going to shrink myself just to be visible to you." In time, the right people will notice you without you even trying. And here's the kicker. The ones who didn't notice before will suddenly wonder why you're not trying anymore. That's when you realize that attention is cheap. What you truly need is respect, and that only comes when you refuse to beg for it. If you want to live as someone who is important, understand this. Importance is not granted by other people's eyes. It's claimed in your own mind first. So stop running in a race you never signed up for. Stand still. Let them pass you if they want. You have a different finish line. Number 3. Learn to walk away without warning. Most people think strength is about fighting, proving yourself or winning arguments. But in reality, one of the purest forms of strength is simply walking away. And doing it without announcing, without warning, without trying to make the other person understand why. When you lower yourself, you often do it by staying too long in places that don't deserve you. You stay because you hope they'll change. You stay because you want them to finally see your worth. You stay because you don't want to look like you gave up. But here's the truth. Staying in situations that drain you is not loyalty, it's self-betrayal. The Stoics knew that sometimes the most courageous act is to let go. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach. Notice what he's saying. If the connection doesn't improve you, if it doesn't elevate your life or character, then it's not worth keeping. Walking away isn't about being cold. It's about protecting your mind, your dignity, and your future. Here's why without warning matters. If you warn people before you leave, "I'm going to walk away if this doesn't change," you're giving them a chance to manipulate the moment. They might make temporary promises, act differently for a short while, or say exactly what you want to hear until you stay. And then everything goes back to the same unhealthy pattern. Walking away silently means you've already decided that you've given enough of yourself. You don't need them to understand, agree, or approve. You've recognized that your energy is too valuable to be spent explaining why you're choosing peace over chaos. Think about how much dignity there is in silence. There's no begging, no drama, no final speech meant to make them see. Just action. You leave, you move on, you reclaim your space. The people who truly cared will notice and reach out in a genuine way. The ones who didn't care won't. And that's how you know who belongs in your life. Stoicism teaches us that we should not be controlled by what we cannot control. You cannot control whether someone respects you, treats you well, or values your presence. But you can control whether you stay in that environment. And when you choose to leave, you're proving to yourself that you take your worth seriously. Walking away without warning also changes you on the inside. It teaches you to rely on your own standards, not someone else's reaction. It strengthens the muscle of self-respect. It shows you that you don't need permission to leave what's hurting you. And it also sends a message, not just to them, but to yourself, that you will not tolerate being treated as less than you are. Now, this doesn't mean you cut people off impulsively for small mistakes. It means you recognize patterns. If someone repeatedly shows you they don't value you, believe them. And when you believe them, you act, without waiting for them to suddenly become someone they're not. This approach also works beyond relationships. It applies to jobs, social circles, and any environment that consistently diminishes you. You don't have to make a grand announcement on social media or write a detailed explanation. You simply step out of that space and into one where you are respected and valued. The beauty of this principle is that it creates a quiet kind of importance. People start to notice that you don't cling, you don't force your way into places, you don't beg for inclusion, and ironically, that makes them respect you more. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. In other words, You don't need to fight, argue, or match someone's disrespect. You rise above it by removing yourself from their reach. So, remember this. Every time you choose to walk away from something that's beneath your standards, you're not losing. You're preserving the most valuable thing you have, yourself. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my strength. Number 4. Protect your time like it's gold. Lowering yourself isn't always about words or relationships. Sometimes it's about what you allow to consume your time. When you give your hours away carelessly, you're silently telling the world that your life isn't valuable enough to protect. The Stoics understood that time is life itself. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Every minute you spend is a piece of your life you can never get back." Yet how often do we hand it away to people and activities that drain us? How often do we commit to things out of guilt, habit, or fear of disappointing others, only to regret it later? When you treat your time like it's endless, you invite others to treat it the same way. They'll call you at any hour, ask you for things they could do themselves, and expect you to be available on their terms. And if you always say yes, they'll never see the true value of your presence because you've made it too cheap. Protecting your time doesn't mean becoming selfish or unavailable. It means understanding that saying yes to one thing always means saying no to something else. And if you're not intentional, you might be saying no to your own growth, your own peace, and your own dreams. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's within our control, and your time is one of the few things you can control. You decide where you place it, who you give it to, and what you create with it. When you use it wisely, it reflects your self-respect. Think about this. If someone gave you $86,400 and told you that you had to spend it all in one day, you'd be careful where it went. You wouldn't hand it to strangers or spend it on things you don't care about. Yet, every day, you're given 86,400 seconds, and most people spend it like it's nothing. When you don't value your time, you end up with regrets. You look back and realize you gave hours, days, even years to things that didn't serve you. The Stoics would say this is a kind of moral failure, not because you lived wrong, but because you lived without awareness. Protecting your time requires boundaries. You have to be comfortable saying no without feeling the need to justify it. You have to schedule time for yourself and treat it as seriously as you would a meeting with someone important, because you are someone important. This also means removing time wasters from your life, not just people, but habits. Endless scrolling, pointless arguments, overcommitting to things you don't care about. These are ways we lower ourselves without realizing it. You might think, it's just 20 minutes here, an hour there, but those minutes add up. And what they add up to is a life where you gave the best of yourself to things that didn't matter. When you protect your time, you start to notice something powerful. People begin to respect it too. If they know you won't waste your own time, they're less likely to waste it for you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." In our context, be good means use your time well. Spend it on what strengthens you, what brings peace, and what aligns with your values. Don't lower yourself by being endlessly available for things that pull you away from the life you want to live. Before you commit to something, ask yourself, if this were my last week alive, would I still give my time to this? If the answer is no, think twice before saying yes. The more intentional you are with your time, the more your life will feel meaningful, and the more meaningful your life feels, the less you'll tolerate anything that steals from it. So, protect your time like it's gold, because it's the only currency you can't earn back. If you're ready to guard your time like treasure, let the community know, my time is priceless. I spend it with purpose. Number 5. Speak less, mean more. One of the most overlooked ways we lower ourselves is by talking too much, especially when we speak just to fill silence, prove our intelligence, or earn someone's approval. Words are powerful, but when they are scattered and constant, they lose their weight. The Stoics placed great value on restraint. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, believed that speech should serve truth and purpose, not ego or impulse. And Epictetus taught, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. The more you talk, the more opportunities you give people to misunderstand you, twist your words, or judge you prematurely. But more importantly, the more you talk without intention, the more you risk cheapening your own voice. Think about the people you respect most. Often they aren't the ones who dominate every conversation. They are the ones who listen, observe, and then speak with precision. When they say something, you pay attention because they don't waste their words. When you speak less, your words naturally carry more authority. People start to notice that when you do speak, it's worth hearing. This creates a quiet form of importance, not because you're withholding for manipulation, but because you're intentional. Speaking less also gives you time to think. Many people damage their own respect by speaking in the heat of emotion, blurting out promises they can't keep, or revealing things they later regret. The Stoics believed in pausing between stimulus and response, in giving the mind space to filter out what's unnecessary before acting or speaking. And here's where this connects deeply to never lowering yourself again. When you speak without purpose, you're often trying to prove something. You're trying to fill the space so people won't overlook you. But that comes from fear. Fear of being ignored, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being forgotten. The truth? People remember silence more than they remember noise. They remember the person who could stay calm in chaos, who didn't have to defend themselves at every turn, who didn't waste energy in endless explanations or gossip. This doesn't mean becoming cold or detached. It means letting your silence work for you. When you remove the need to constantly speak, you allow your actions, your presence, and your consistency to speak for you. Speaking less is also an act of discipline, and is a form of self-respect. It tells the world, I don't need to give you all of me to prove my value. You'll see it in what I choose to share. Another benefit? You gain control over your narrative. The less you give away, the less room others have to control the story about you. You decide what's shared, when, and with whom. This kind of self-control naturally commands respect. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. That's a simple filter. Only act when it's right. Only speak when it's true. Imagine if every word you spoke passed through that filter. How much stronger, cleaner, and more impactful your communication would be. In practical terms, here's how you can apply this. When you feel the urge to speak, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this necessary? Is it adding value? Listen actively to others, not just to reply, but to understand. Replace filler talk with purposeful presence. Let your calm confidence fill the space instead of noise. Remember that silence can be an answer, a boundary, and a statement all at once. When you master the art of speaking less and meaning more, you no longer chase influence. You attract it. People will lean in to hear what you say, and when you do speak, your words will have the weight of someone who knows their own value. So, instead of flooding the room with noise to feel important, step into the power of intentional silence. Let people feel the strength of your presence before they even hear the sound of your voice. If you're ready to speak with power and purpose, share below. My silence holds power. My words carry weight. Lowering yourself is rarely a single obvious moment. It's a gradual erosion, a little compromise here, a small silence there, an extra effort for someone who wouldn't lift a finger for you. Over time, those small moments add up, and you look in the mirror wondering why you feel so invisible. The Stoics remind us that importance doesn't come from titles, applause, or being the loudest in the room. It comes from living by principles that you refuse to betray. It comes from carrying yourself with the quiet certainty that your worth is not up for negotiation. Each lesson is a reminder that respect starts with you. If you want others to treat you as important, you must first decide that you are important, and then live in a way that proves it, without ever begging for it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the heart of it. You can't control how others see you, but you can control how you see yourself. And when you decide never to lower yourself again, the world will adjust. If you've made it to the end of this video, I want you to remember, your worth is not something anyone else can give or take away. It's yours to guard, yours to live, and yours to honor. Like this video, share it, leave a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more Stoic wisdom.